Good afternoon, folks. To respect your time for being here at 1 o'clock, we're going to start, and other people may come later, and that's just too bad. They may miss some of this. My name is Michael Greenman. I'm with the Special Events and Entertainment Committee, and this is a very special event for us. We have Megan Hayden, who is a certified vision rehabilitation therapist, coming to speak to us for the second time. She was actually here a few months ago, for a little bit. She's also a certified orientation and mobility specialist, which is another issue we're interested in. And she works for the Sight Center of Northwest Ohio, a nonprofit organization in Toledo, for 15 years. However, lucky for us, she lives near here, so she is available to provide services to folks in this area. And just as an introductory note, I might encourage you to, if you'd like to perhaps be in contact with her at some point, be sure you have your name and contact information on the registration sheet that we'll be passing around. We will be sending her information to everybody who's on our list. Over the last few months, we've enjoyed presentations by Dr. Walter Chu and Chad Killen of the OSU Ophthalmology Department, and they described a number of ways with folks with vision challenges and other accessibility issues can be helped to enjoy a more normal life. Megan today will show us some of the ways that we can adapt our living space to be more functional through the use of adaptive techniques and devices. And if you have questions, just raise your hand and wait for someone to bring you the microphone so that we can get it on our film, our video, which after today's session will be uploaded to the ICON database so that those who are not here would like to see what was covered can also participate, can also enjoy that. So if you want to get potentially her information and other things later on, be sure that if you're not already on our vision list, you sign in, and we'll be sure to add you, and you'll be plugged in. Thanks. Megan, thank you very much. Welcome. I'll just take this.
That's fine. That's great. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Patty, for inviting me out today. It is my pleasure to be here with you, and I just love being with people and out working to try to bring ideas and creative solutions. Because let's face it, this vision loss stuff, it stinks, right? Sometimes it really is really hard, and it's helpful to know that there's other people. So it's wonderful that you have a group of people that live here that want to try to encourage one another in your walk, and as you're trying to go through and figure out, what am I supposed to do now? My life has been changed maybe a little bit. Things literally look different, right? And we all come from different stages from what eye disease you might be experiencing or where you're at with your vision loss. So my job is a vision rehab therapist, and I do go out into people's homes. I evaluate their needs, and then we decide together what kind of goals that person may have to want to improve their daily living skills, or as an orientation mobility specialist, their ability to move around inside their home or around inside their community, getting to work at their college or university. It just depends on who I'm working with. So those are the kind of things that I work with. I also do training in low vision, so I work with low vision devices. So today I have a whole variety of different items up here, and afterwards you are welcome to come and take a look at any of these things that you might be interested in. You can also talk to me about how can you get services if this is something that you decide later on that you would like me to come to your home or into your apartment or wherever you are, and you would like to have an evaluation. How does that work, right? So there's a lot of questions that you might have, and if you need to get a hold of me, you can always do that, and I can reach out. Like Michael said, you can sign up and we can always reach out. Okay, so just by a raising of hands, I want to kind of get an idea of the room here. So if you have low vision, somewhere between 20/60 and 2100, can you raise your hand? I just want to see who's my low vision people. Okay, so that's that 20/60, 20/70, 20/80, 29, 20 over 90, 20 over 100, okay? Is there anybody who is legally blind? If you don't mind raising your hand. So that would be my 20 over 200, or you have a visual field loss greater than 20 degrees. Yes, there are a few nods. Yes, you have some people in here that are legally blind. Yep. Okay, so a lot of you might still have some really great remaining vision, right? That's wonderful. We want to try to use that as much as possible. But I also want to encourage you in your walk here that at some point your progression may get to the point that it is too frustrating to use. And so it's nice to know that there are low vision devices, but then there are other options for people that, this is just too frustrating for me to try to read this with my own eyes. And so you might have to try an adaptation, right? So there's lots of adaptations up here that I will be talking about. And we're going to talk about adaptations that you can use. Hopefully at the end of this session, you can go home and you can think about your home environment and how you can at least adapt one thing. That would be a great goal for today. I really want you to make this something practical for you. So hopefully you can glean something that you're excited about that you can start trying right away. So let's say we're going to start with daily living skills. And one of our first ones is just writing. How do you write things down and see them? So for my low vision folks, writing in bold, all capital letters is going to be your best bet. All right? If you're still writing in cursive, you're going to struggle. So try to print your information. By printing, you're going to be able to have the breakdown of each letter a little bit easier for your eyeballs to read. All right? So print. The other thing I want you to consider is the kind of contrast in your pens. So if you're writing with a ballpoint pen, that's probably not going to be any good for you. Those light blue pens that everybody gets at, all the freebie stuff, don't write with those. You need something probably that gives you a lot better contrast, something inkier, right? Sharpie markers are great ideas. Felt tip pens are great ideas. The problem with Sharpies is they often bleed through. There are pens called VA, it's Bold Writer VA pens, and those are great. I like the Pilot Bravo, if you like a good pen that still is kind of thin. So if you're thinking, what kind of pen should I go to the store and buy? Try the Pilot Bravo. I really like that one. There's probably a lot of other pens out there that you could write with, but again, we're thinking of contrast. Think of size. So if you're just trying to write the same way you always have, and then when you look at it, you're like, I have no idea what it says anymore, then you probably need to change how you're doing it, right? And by writing it larger, writing it with bolder pens, or we can even talk about the bold line paper. So up here I'm showing you a piece of paper that has bold lines on it. And if you can't see it, you can always come back up later on. But it's really just a pad of bold lined paper. That might help you to write straight across the line. Because a lot of my folks that I work with, they start writing and they go uphill or they go downhill. All right, does anybody have that problem? Anyone? Okay, yes. So I'm in the right group here, yes, okay? You're in good hands. So that's very common, that happens. And so to prevent that from happening, you can try the bold line paper if you're visual enough. If you're not, then you go to something that is a tactile guide. This is a writing guide. You can fit a whole piece of paper in here, and it opens up like a folder, and you place your white paper inside, and you close it up. And now I don't know if for my low vision folks, if you can see the contrast between those white lines and the black of the guide itself. So this is a simple adaptation, but it would sure help if you were writing uphill or downhill and you still wanted to write your grocery list, or you still wanted to write a greeting inside of a greeting card, and you just want to say, happy birthday, sweetie, I love you, and you don't want it to be all over the place, okay? Yes, Michael?
Question.
Yes.
I think you're on. You're on?
Oh.
Darn it, now, there we
There we
are.
are.
2 seconds. Are there places that these will exist, or could we send them links from after the session to tell them how
Yes.
they might find these?
That's a great question. How do I get some of these things that we're talking about? So the first thing I'm going to tell you is the Site Center in Toledo. You can actually go there, and we actually have a shop in Toledo. I know that's not very convenient, but if you ever were in Toledo, you could go there and actually go inside and you could check out all of the different devices that are there and try them out and look at them. It's kind of nice to know that there's a place that you can go to actually put your hands on something instead of just buying everything online. However, if it's more convenient for you to go online, we also have a website. So up here I have a brochure. It's called our Shop at the Site Center. And if you want to take one of those, you can. But we have just a whole bunch of these different adaptations that you can purchase. We sell pretty much everything except for canes to people unless you have been a client of ours. So if you want a cane, we would prefer to work with you one-on-one before you go out and buy your own. I also don't recommend that you just go buy a magnifier. Okay, we'll talk about magnifiers in a little bit, but if you think, oh, I'm having a struggle with reading things, and you just jump to a 10x magnifier, you're probably not going to be very happy. So it's something that I would prefer you let us know. Say, hey, can I have a functional low vision evaluation? And I have information about that. And I come out to your home, and we evaluate, and we see, okay, what is it that you want to read? And let's try all the different powers of magnifiers until we get to the one that, hey, I can actually see this. So there's, and if you can't, then we go to the next step. What's something that can read to you, okay? So we'll talk about magnifiers in a bit, but just with writing, there are different types of writing guides. So I showed you the letter guide. There's also one for checks. There's ones for envelopes. And there's even ones for signatures. So if you need any help with, your signature, like somebody asks you to sign here, and you're like, where is here? Then you need a signature guide, and you just have the person place the signature guide down where they want you to sign, and then you feel the orientation of the line, and then you can write in the space. So that's called a signature guide. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about writing? No questions? Don't be afraid. It's always better to ask. Okay, then I'll move on. All right, the next option is if you cannot write and you still are interested in making sure you're cataloging information, another option are recorders. I know this isn't as common these days, as you don't think about a digital recorder or a tape recorder. I grew up doing tape recorders, but a digital recorder is a wonderful option if you can't write things down and read your handwriting anymore. You can record your information about your grocery list or the route that you took to get someplace, or maybe your pickup time, or maybe your appointment that you have coming up. It's another option. So there's the low vision options, and now we're talking about the non-visual option, the digital recorder. Great idea, right? So that's another thing that you could do if you need to. Okay, so moving on from writing, we come to category like reading. So if we're going to need to read, so we have two different really types of reading, right? You have spot reading, which is quick and fast. Like, I just want to know what the price tag is. What is the name of my soup, my Campbell soup? Is this my chicken noodle or is this my cream of chicken? Big difference. So we want to make sure that we are looking and reading those things accurately versus long-term reading. Like maybe you have your mail that you're trying to read. Maybe you're trying to read your devotion book or your Bible, or you're reading something that has an actual book, okay? So there's different options for you. So we have lots of different types of magnifiers. Magnifiers is one of the low-tech options. You have optical devices. So that's when you actually have an actual lens, and you're looking through lens, and if you have not worked with magnifiers, then there are different qualities of magnifiers, okay? If you just go to your local store and you buy one, you're probably going to get a lower quality of magnifier, and the best spot is going to only be right down the center. A more expensive magnifier is going to have a wider range of good viewing points inside of that. And I also think it's a really important part to have a light on your magnifier. A lot of people need light when they're trying to read. And so this one, I just turned it on. I don't want to blind anybody here. But it's nice to have that light just emitted down so I can quickly spot read something. Now, it's important that you understand about magnifiers is that the lower the magnification, the larger it can be. The stronger the magnification, the smaller the lens is going to be. So if you want a 10x magnifier for the whole page, well, that's not going to happen, okay, with optical devices. The larger the magnifier, it's going to be a lower power, okay? And then the stronger it is, like this one is smaller. This is a 7X that I have up here. And this larger one is only a 3.5. But all the magnifiers that I have are probably stronger than what you're going to be able to find at your local store. So if you need a 3X, or you need a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, those are the powers that I usually carry, and we would evaluate you in your home with the things that you want to look at to see which power you actually need. So don't just go out and guess what you think you need. That's going to be a hard choice to do. There's also the difference between a stand magnifier and a handheld magnifier. So handheld magnifiers you hold up and you find the good viewing spot, so you might move it in and out from the reading area. The stand magnifier, you're going to lay it down on top of your reading, and then you're going to bend down and look into it. Okay? It might work best if you have a reading stand that you're propping it up so you're not looking and bending so far down, but that's the difference. Stand magnifiers are wonderful because you get that optical reading viewpoint immediately as soon as you look down into it. You don't have to find a good spot. It's also good if you have some shaking, some tremors going on, right? You don't have to worry about that because it's laying down on the paper. So if you have tremors, you're probably going to want a stand magnifier versus the handheld. It's going to shake with you if you have any tremors with you. Other devices I have up here, this one is a page magnifier. I'm sure some of you may be interested in that, thinking that that's wonderful. I have had a few people benefit from a page magnifier, but don't get overly excited because it's not that strong. So if you have significantly low vision, then this may not be enough strength for you, okay? But it's definitely worth trying. If you would like to, you're welcome to come up and try it today. There's something called a bar magnifier. So bar magnifiers just magnify the whole line of print, one line at a time. And another thing to think about is there are also things like video magnifiers. Has anyone been exposed or seen or heard of video magnifiers? One? Just two? Okay. All right, so video magnifiers are another optical device, a little bit of a higher technology option compared to your magnifiers that are optical devices. And this one that I have in my hand is a Ruby by Freedom Scientific. There are a lot of different companies. There's a lot of different sizes out there. I'm not saying you have to get the Ruby. I'm not promoting any one specific one. I'm just showing you the one that I have in my possession right now. So I like this size because then people can stick it in their pocket. You might think, well, I want a large one. Well, then you can't really stick it in your pocket. It doesn't become very mobile when you have a large one. It's like carrying an iPad around, right? And that's not very conducive if you're going to go to the store. So if you're going to go to the store, you might want to have something that you can stick in your purse or in your pocket. So the nice thing about this is that it has a handle, and I can turn it on. And it allows me to look at the screen, and because it's digital, I can magnify it up to, I think it goes from a 5 to a 7.5 to a 10. So all in one, now I have more options. Instead of getting an optical handheld or stand magnifier with one of these digital video magnifiers, I have more options. Some of the other video magnifiers allow you to go up even higher than that, and they have a lot more range. So once again, if you have interest in that, then we can talk about that. You can also go and check out in the shop. If you go up to Toledo, you can actually go and try out some different devices yourself. So video magnifiers are pretty awesome. Another great thing about them is contrast. So if you have any issues with glare, maybe you're very sensitive to light, the nice thing about these video magnifiers is it allows you to invert the contrast of the print. So instead of maybe doing black on white, it allows you to do white on black, which takes away a lot of the glare in the background of your page. And that allows you not to have so many migraines when you're reading and less stress of the eye for a lot of people. It also has other colors in there, so you can choose your color that you prefer, and that's wonderful. Okay. So any questions about the handheld stand or video magnifiers?
Yes.
Yes.
I see video magnifiers.
I see video magnifiers on Amazon or whatever, and some of them say 30x,
Yep.
and that's not, I don't know how that translates into 3x or 5x.
That's a great question.
Great question, Patty. So the question was really, how do you understand what that 30x is talking about? So that's a lot of magnification. If you have something that's magnified by that much, you're only seeing maybe a part of a letter at a time, okay? Instead of an entire letter, you're probably only going to see part of it. And it also depends on how big of the screen is. In addition to portable video magnifiers, there's things called CCTVs or closed circuit televisions. They're more like desktop options, which if you are wanting to read a lot in your own home, you might want to invest in getting a desktop CCTV. A desktop CCTV allows you to put your reading material down underneath the camera that is pointing down, and then it blows up onto a monitor. And so now instead of looking at this tiny little screen, you're actually looking at almost like a whole video or a whole TV screen. So that's another nice option. Of course, they're very expensive. We're talking probably around anywhere between $2,000 to $7,000, depending how many bells and whistles you want to buy. Yes.
We do have those devices at various places.
Great.
Every wing, and there's 4 of them in Westwood, has one of those machines that people can go to.
Wonderful. Great.
Thanks for letting us know that. Did
And
everybody hear
they're
that?
on the second floor in the bubble room, sort of in the middle.
Great. So if you haven't checked that out, I would encourage you to go check it out. But know that the most efficient way you're going to read with that is using the tray. And hopefully those devices have trays. There are some different types. There's one called an Acrobat that doesn't often have a tray to it. And it makes reading much more difficult. You're going to have the most efficient reading if you can move your paper back and forth smoothly and efficiently. Good, perfect. So those are different magnifiers and low vision devices. In addition to thinking about magnification, which is only one of the ways we can improve our functional vision, we also need to think about lighting. Lighting is not all equal. There's different brightnesses and there's different colors, as well as just different types of light bulbs, right? So our good old LED, light emitting diodes, that's what that stands for, is a great option because it allows us often to have dimmer switches on them, and it allows us to have different colors of LED lights all in one. So this example that I have up here is called a Cobra light. The nice thing about this device is that it has a very flexible neck to it, and it's probably one of my favorites. Again, I'm promoting it, but it's just because I use it all the time, and I have it here with me today. It's very lightweight. I can pick it up with one hand, and it's pretty modern looking, black. But the nice thing is that it has that dimmer switch on it, and it allows me to go up with the brightness and dim it back down. That's really important, because if you're looking at something and it blinds you because it's just too bright, then it's really nice to be able to dim that down and find what's comforting to you. Another thing that's on here is going to be your different temperatures of light. So there's temperature, not physical like heat temperature, but there's different Kelvin scale of temperature. So your lower Kelvin scale numbers are going to be more of your warmer colors, like your that warm color. Do you know what I mean? Like when you go into places and they have that bright blue light almost, okay, that's a really high Kelvin scale number. And we're talking about the lower. So depending on what color you need, you might want to address that in your home. Think about what's in your kitchen, what's in your bathroom, what's in your living room. You may want to have a nice ambiance lighting in your living room versus in the bathroom and in the kitchen. You might want to have a higher Kelvin scale number with that intense white light, right? So think about lighting, and why I like the Cobra is because it allows us to do all of those things with this one light. So think about your light bulbs, think about your different lights that you have. So lighting is important, magnification is important. Of course, it's you can't always go with bigger is better because different visual impairments have different needs. If you have glaucoma, your visual field loss is probably significant, right? You're losing that. You're like a tunnel down the middle. So making things bigger isn't always better. because you're taking up all of that middle spot. So in macular degeneration or cataracts, however, that's the very opposite. A lot of times we do need things to be bigger because we're using a different part of our eyeball to see. So when you look right through the blurry spot in macular degeneration, right, you're going to just see blurry. But if you can shift your blurry spot out of the way and use your preferred retinal locus or your good spot, your efficient EV point, then that will be better, and you can need it to be bigger at that point. Does that make sense? It's really important to understand that. So don't just think bigger is better. And for every person, it's going to be unique in what size you need your print to be. So we have size, we have lighting. Another thing you can change is your contrast. Contrast is so important. So we talked about that with the video magnifier. But if you don't have a video magnifier and you're just needing a little bit of a change, you might be able to benefit from just acetate paper. Has anybody heard of acetate paper before? So acetate paper is just a plastic piece, right? Colored piece of plastic. Stick that on your computer screen, or put it on your piece of white paper. You might just find that, wow, just that yellow contrast allows you to see it better. It's worth a try. It may not help you at all, but it may help a lot. So it just depends on what your visual needs are. So contrast. Another way we can talk about contrast is layering contrast on other things in your home. So if you are wondering, okay, how can I make my bathroom more efficient? Well, if you have a white bar of soap and you have a white sink, maybe you need a dark colored soap dish to hold your white soap, so you layer the contrast. If you are eating and you're like, I can't see my chicken and my corn and my mashed potatoes on my white plate, then you put it on a dark plate, and you don't use a plate with patterns, because then you might try to eat the patterns. So I've had people do that, okay? So make it easier for yourself. No patterns. Have a black plate, have a white plate, and think about your contrast as you're eating it, okay? So layer your contrast to make it easier for you. So that's another thing. So contrast, lighting, size. Then we also have something called glare. Anybody have experience with glare? Yes. And I'm sure some of you have problems with glare inside as well as outside. And today we don't have it so bad because it's kind of overcast, but on a bright winter day with snow, it's almost completely blinding, right? So there are different types of sunglasses, polarized sunglasses that you can get from your eye doctor, but another option to think about are yellow tinted glasses. And if you don't have them and you want to try them on, I have a pair up here. And it just helps to kind of take the glare out of the indoor environments. Now this is actually a specific pair called the Haven Night Drivers. This is what I got my dad actually when he was experiencing difficulty with glare from oncoming traffic at nighttime. And so he wears these to help him to block out that glare. So they're actually used for people who drive as well. I think I've seen them at truck stops because truck drivers often wear them. But I have people wear these inside, and it really does make a difference for some people too. So you can think about, well, how can I decrease my contrast? My glare. I can try indoor filters, and yellow seems to be very helpful for that. If you don't want to wear an exterior pair of glasses like that, you can also talk to your eye doctor, your optometrist, about tinting your glasses, and just having a little bit of a yellow tint in there might also make a difference to you. Okay? All right, so any questions about the low vision devices and all of that for reading or anything like that? Yes?
I've never heard of a yellow tint, but
Yes.
I'm familiar with photo grays. Is that a similar thing on your glasses, where it supposedly darkens if there's a glare or direct sunlight?
Oh,
I haven't heard of that one before, but I'm not into eyeglasses as much as all of these other things. That might be true. And there are lots of different colors. So when I go out and do a functional low vision evaluation in someone's house, I often demonstrate different filter colors. Filters or sunglasses can come in yellow, amber, maroon or plum, gray, standard gray, and then you have all the shades of gray, right? There's different shades, there's different darknesses and lightnesses depending if you want it indoors or outdoors. So don't just think, oh, I gotta go get a pair of sunglasses and I gotta just stick with the gray ones. I had an individual, he was visually impaired. He had a very specific vision impairment, but he went outside and he could not see the crosswalk, okay? But I gave him a plum pair of filters and boom, he was able to see the crosswalk, like the little person that says walk or don't walk. And it was amazing, and it was all because of the color of his sunglasses. So don't just stick with, oh, I guess I have to stick with this one color because that's all I could find at the store. Assessing yourself and having the option to try different colors is actually really helpful. Okay, great question. Anything else? Okay. All right, well, moving on, I wanted to talk about how can you adapt more of your daily living spaces. So inside your kitchen, if you are there and you're looking at your microwave and you're struggling and you can't see the buttons, there's a lot of very simple things that we can do to adapt your microwave or your oven or your stove or your dishwasher, your Keurig coffee maker, anything. If it has a button, we can probably mark it. So I'm going to pass this around. It's a piece of paper, and on it is a front side and a back side. And on the front side here, I have a picture of a standard microwave and how I have placed bump dots. These are called touch dots. They're kind of foamy circles, and they add contrast, but they also add a tactile identifier. So if you're struggling with finding your off button, we just put a bump on it, and now you can feel it. If you're having a hard time finding your start button, then we put a bump on it, and now you can feel it. This other one is your dial of your oven, and I have placed one bump on the 350 and two bumps on the 400, so that way you can identify it tactually, and then you put a bump at the top so you know where to line your bumps up, right? So that way you can confidently set your ovens. I think you have ovens in your individual places still, yeah. And microwaves and stoves. So if that's a struggle for you, that's an easy thing to do, but just don't over bump it. Okay? You don't need to bump dot every number. Okay. In fact, that's going to be a problem for you because you're going to be really confused. Okay. On the back side, I have an example of a standard digital oven. So on this oven, I used, instead of using bump dots, I used, it's called puff paint. Anybody heard of puff paint?
Yay!
Patty likes puff paint. Yes, great. So puff paint is really cheap. You can go to Walmart and buy tulip paint. It's the same thing. It's just tactile when it dries. So that way it's not flat. And you can choose your color that you want that will best contrast with your appliances. So here I have a black appliance, and I have used white puff paint, or spot and line paint is the brand that I use. And I put a B on for bake. And then I put a bump dot for start and an X in red for cancel, and an up arrow and a down arrow so I can feel where my buttons are. So I just wanted to explain that so as you're feeling this, you know what you're kind of looking at. Okay. So that's a simple way to adapt your appliances in your house. Another thing that's a good adaptation is a contrast cutting board. So a contrast cutting board is as simple as what it says. It's black on one side and it's white on the other. So if you're cutting something that is maybe like a cucumber, you might see it better on the white side, or maybe you would see it better on the black side. You need to see what is best for you, but it adds contrast. So that's something that you can think about when you're cutting. There's adaptive techniques for cutting, so I can teach you that if you're struggling and you're really afraid of using a knife. Some of you've been using a knife your whole life, but without your vision, how do you confidently do that? So there's adaptive techniques that I just work with you one-on-one. In fact, if you wanted to say, I used to cook muffins every Saturday, and now I just don't have the confidence to do that, but then we could do that together, right? We would work on all the different steps that it takes to make muffins. There's adaptations for how to measure, and that's a visual skill. Like, how do we make that into a tactile skill? There's mixing, there's scraping, there's knowing when the muffins are done, right? There's all different types of adaptations that could be made just to make muffins. Another great adaptation that I love for the kitchen is also useful for organizing your counter space or maybe your medicine bottles is a black tray. If you don't have a black tray, go out and get one today. I'm telling you, it really makes a difference. And why? Because it gives you a landing spot for all of your stuff. Instead of just putting it down on the counter, you have now a designated area that you put it on. If you are working with your medicine bottles and you're saying, oh my goodness, I am dropping my pills all the time, do it over a tray. A tray could be as simple as a plastic lunch tray like this, or it could be even a baking sheet that has a rim all the way around the side, so that way they don't roll, okay? You could do it on a towel, but then they could still roll. So think about that if you're gonna use a towel.
Can you just buy a tray like that at Target? I mean, is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't, there's nothing special about this tray. He asked if you could buy it at Target. I don't know exactly where they buy these, but it's all from the shop. So you could call the shop and order it right over the phone with Adam. He works in our shop at the site center. So, but you can also go and find one at your local dealership. Yeah.
It just occurred to me, you're doing pills and I do them on a paper towel. Why would I do it on something black so I can see them when I drop them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just think about that. If you're doing it on a paper towel, exactly, that's white. Most pills are light colored, right? So contrast. Think about your contrast. If that's your takeaway today, do that. That is an easy one. You can make this so much easier for yourself if you just start making these little changes in the way you do things. So think about contrast. When you're cooking with a tray, I always tell people use it so you can put all of your ingredients on it. Even if you're doing something as simple as you're making a bowl of cereal, right? Put your cereal bowl on there, put your spoon on there, put your cereal on there, put your milk on there. Okay, now I'm gonna make it, now I can eat off of it, and if I spill anything, it's really easy to clean up. But now I know where I put that spoon. Or if you're cooking, right, and you're stirring, and then you put it on the counter, well, now you can't find it, right? So it's really helpful to have designated spots on your counter using trays so that way you know exactly where to go back to and look things. A lot of my clients tell me, my spouse moved it again, and they get so frustrated, right? So not moving things is really important. So using a tray for that purpose helps. So that way, you know, everything has a spot and everything goes back to that spot. So if you're a spouse in here, or you're a friend, or you're a caregiver, do your friend a favor here and don't move their stuff, okay? It's really important. And if you do, then you let them know for a good reason. Otherwise, we can get into a lot of trouble. All right, so those are some of the things for organizing with the tray. There's other little, devices out there. There's like tongs. These are double-sided spatulas that are really helpful for flipping things, but there's also techniques too, like putting a fork behind whatever you're trying to flip so you have something to push it up to. There's things like liquid level indicators, and some of them make a sound and some of them vibrate, and that's if you're pouring liquid, it lets you know you're at the top so that way you don't overflow. There's another technique, it's called your finger, and that can work just fine too. So sometimes people think, oh, I just need a device, and actually you just need a technique to do a lot of things. Okay, looking at my what I have left to kind of go over with you, I wanted to talk about how you can organize your pantry, for example. There's different ways. So one thing is you can use large print on index cards and rubber band them so that way you know what your canned goods are. That's an option. So this says diced tomatoes on here. If you have a hard time identifying your diced tomatoes in your cupboard, you also have an option called a pen friend. Has anybody ever heard of a pen friend before? Okay, one of them. So this little device is something that you use your own voice to create labels, which is wonderful. I love this little gadget. It's not very new, it's kind of old, but it's great because you can actually put a sticker on whatever you want to label and then use your own voice. So if you wanted to label, this is my frozen, chopped up chicken, 1 pound, you can do that. If you wanted to label, this is my beige makeup number 529, so you know what to get when you go back to the store, you can say that. So there's all kinds of things that you can label, and the pen friend allows you to do that. So it comes with stickers, and I just turned it on, and I'm going to try to do this all together here.
Kroger sweet corn, whole kernel, 15.25 ounces, serving size half a cup, 3.5 servings per container, 80 calories per serving.
So hopefully you heard that was just my voice, and I recorded all that information, but you can make your labels as complicated or as simple as you wanted to. So that's the nice thing about the pen friend, is that you can use it to identify specific information. I had an individual I worked with. He was very high tech, and he was very intelligent and young, and very able to do just about any device that he wanted to. He still preferred to use that pen friend because he didn't want to have to search over lots of different things for something. He just wanted a specific piece of information. So for example, if he wanted to make macaroni and cheese, he didn't want to hear macaroni and cheese and calories and all this other stuff that comes on some of these other devices that I'm going to show you. And it can get frustrating. And so he wanted to be able to hear macaroni and cheese, these are my ingredients, this is what I need to do with it. So if you like to make your own labels, then that's a great option for you.
These are auditory labels.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So just like you heard, you put a sticker on the device or the object you're going to record on, and then you can listen back.
I just want to be sure we understand. You use that when you've written something on a card, and then you use that to record it, so that when you point it at it again, it'll tell you what it is?
Close. So this device comes with a set of stickers. It has nothing to do with the card that I was showing you. That was just what I had stuck it to. So there's a whole sheet of stickers, and they're little circles. And each one of these has the ability to record up to like an hour of information. So there are a lot of information. And if you think about your medications, if you're like, this is my ibuprofen, or this is my whatever medication I want, and I want to label it with a verbal thing, you could have a family member do this for you, so that way you know exactly what your medication is, how often you're supposed to take it, who was the prescriber. You could set up your own system using the pen friend if you wanted to.
So what you're doing is programming that spot and then putting it on something.
Yes.
And when you hold the thing up to it,
Yes.
it'll read it off to you.
Yes. You use the pen friend, and you touch the sticker that you've recorded already onto, and it plays back the information. Is that clear? Thank you for asking for clarity. Yes. So I really like that device for a lot of reasons, and it's even great in the freezer. I've had a lot of people say, well, they have these frozen meals, and they don't know how many minutes they have to cook it for, or what it is, or what flavor it is, and do they have to cut it, or do they not cut it? So if you just had the pen friend, you could just label that yourself, and it'd be real simple. Another option is a higher tech option. Have some of you heard of Seeing AI? Not everybody, some of you have, okay. This, I think, is a wonderful app you can get on your smartphone. It's for both Android and iPhones. So if you have either one, you can get Seeing AI, and I think it's fantastic. I'm going to demonstrate what it can do. It can read a document if you put it into document mode. It can just read information to you as you are pointing the phone at whatever you're looking at. You can scan barcodes to identify what the information is. You can identify money with this. You can identify colors with this. You can identify, I believe, scenes. So if I took a picture of this room, it would tell me this is a room with lots of people in it. It's pretty impressive what it can do. So there's other things too, but I wanted to demonstrate what this looks like here. So just give me a second. So I'm just bringing up the Seeing AI app, and it automatically will start reading to me as I hover my phone over top of something.
Westerwood Vision Loss Support Orem, January 14th, 26, 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m.
Okay, so it's going to keep on reading because I just put it up to the print, and so it's just going to start reading. But if I had a whole document that I wanted it to read, I'm going to use my recipe here. Let's say I have a whole page. Oh, that's a lot of reading to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for some of you, this is going to stress out your eyes like crazy to read this much. But you need a recipe, so you need to have access to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it down on something with better contrast. And, close out again, hold on. Okay, and I'm going to push the document option.
Detection on.
Okay, and I'm simply going to hover it.
Not visible. Hold steady. Processing.
Okay, so now it comes up on my phone. It just scanned that entire document. I didn't do anything special. I just hovered my phone. And it told me left edge is not visible. So then I moved it so that the left edge was visible. I just hovered a little bit differently. And now I'm going to push the play button.
Peanut butter granola bars prep. 5 minutes cook. 14 minutes total. 19 minutes servings. 16 squares. Ingredients. 3 cups old-fashioned rolled oats. Use verified gluten-free, if needed. 3/4.
So it's just reading my recipe right there.
So if anybody would like help with installing this on your Android or iPhone, see me, Yvette, or one of us, and we'll be happy to help you install it and have a basic understanding of how to use it.
Yes. So that's just the document reader. The other option I wanted to show you was the barcode. So if you didn't want to spend the money on a pen friend, okay, which it's like $200, I think, around there, okay, if you're wondering how much that is, then you can get this free app on your smartphone and you can use it to identify barcodes. So I'm going to try again to hold this here. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to go to the option called More, and then I'm going to click on barcode. Product. It's a barcode picture. And then I'm going to hover I have chili powder in my hand, and I'm going to scan it.
Chili powder.
Okay. So did you see it just said chili powder?
So you're still using C?
Seeing AI is still what I'm using right there, and it will emit this sound. So let me go back and try it again. I don't know if I can hold it so you can hear it. No, too complicated.
Chili powder.
So I just kept hovering it in front of my phone until it grabs it automatically, and I didn't have to do anything to it. Okay, it just was doing that. So it told me what it was, and then it also has an option for more information. So now, to bore you, here we go.
Chili powder. Chili powder is manufactured by the Kroger Company with a suggested serving size of 0, 25 teaspoons, 0, 5g, and 0 calories per serving.
Okay, you got the idea. So the nice thing is, if this was a box of macaroni and cheese, it might eventually actually tell you how to make it. If you had a box of brownie mix, you could scan the barcode and it might eventually tell you the steps for how to make it. It's pretty awesome, right? That's pretty great. But if you want to try to do it with just the read function, you can just read it. If you want to try it with the document function, you could just do it with the document function. Just play around with it. There's lots of different options that you can use with it. So that's another higher tech option, but a very handy one. Yes, question in the back.
Two things about seeing AI.
Yes.
Can you use it to find your way, without running into things and so forth?
Okay. What's your second one? Let me answer that one. From a mobility instructor's point of view, I would never use any artificial intelligence to navigate the world. Can it aid you? Absolutely. Can it help you? There's lots of different aids out there. But if you truly need a mobility device to help you navigate because you're afraid of a curve or a slope or a set of stairs, or am I going to just fall off a cliff, you really need a cane. Okay, a long cane is really what you're going to need. So artificial intelligence, such as Seeing AI, does a beautiful job, and it can inform you of a scene, of what's in front of you. There are other
That's
apps
what I
and other things that can guide you and navigate you through the world. There's even smart canes out there now that kind of identify what's in front of you. I personally just feel the strongest that if you need something to tell you, then you really need to be using a cane. In addition to, and you can use in addition to, and as a personal preference, but I would never just use an app.
But if a person needs to use a walker or something of that sort, then that doesn't help. You can't use a cane and a walker at the same time.
It depends on the person. If your doctor says you need this for support, because you will fall if you let go, then you're right. However, if you just need it and you can let go of that walker, you can actually use a cane in the other hand and swipe in front of you and then resume and push. And swipe in front of you and resume and push. You can do that. But again, that takes training, it takes time, and you would have to have permission through your doctor, your PT, or whoever has authorized that.
Okay, the problem that my husband had with any app that was on the phone, like Seeing AI, he never could use it because he couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he couldn't see dark or light.
Mm-hmm.
And so he reached a point of only being able to turn his phone on and off by asking Siri to do it.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm sure a lot of you are struggling with maybe seeing apps on your phone, the print on your phone. If you are, the first thing you need to do is go under accessibility. And maybe you have a young person in your life help you out because they're really handy to do these things with the phones. Or ask someone in this Low Vision support group, like Michael, maybe can help you out to get into the accessibility features on your phone. You can change a lot of different things just by going through there. You have the ability to change size of text. You can change the contrast of what's on the background to the front. On your home screen, I know it's so much fun to have your pictures of your grandkids or your puppy dog or your favorite trip, but try not to have anything at all. Think about contrast. Visual clutter is a killer for visual issues. So if you can eliminate the visual clutter on your phone, get rid of those apps that you don't regularly use. Put it on a different slide, a different home screen, right? You can have several different ones. So think about that. Think about how can I make it more visually appealing to me. You can make your app size bigger, right? If your husband got to the point though that he was at just light and dark, you're right, he wasn't going to be able to see it even with the contrast. So you need VoiceOver on. So VoiceOver is on the iPhone and it's an accessibility feature. I'm sure someone in here knows a lot about that. So, if you don't, then that's a great thing, a great tool that you can start using is VoiceOver. Okay? So that's where when you swipe with your finger, instead of it doing what you think it normally would do, it actually will read through all of your apps on your phone, or different taps on your phone, or different gestures on your phone actually get it to do different things. But that takes a lot of training just to know how to do that.
I think Siri will open those for you as well.
Will Siri open them? Yes. So a lot of times if you use Siri, but you have to allow her first. So if you haven't been able to get a hold of Siri, it's because you haven't enabled it yet on your phone. So just yesterday I had to enable it on someone's phone because it was disabled. So make sure you go under settings, go under Siri, and then you can access Siri. And yes, by pushing your home button or saying, hey Siri, now you have access to that assistant. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yeah, as an OEM specialist, here people are really dealing with, walks and curbs. But what about outside wayfinding? If you have a walker, things like that, are there apps that will enable you to say, this is the peanut factory, this is the bar,
There are indeed apps like that allow you to, as you're walking or as you're driving past, it will announce what it is. Yes. You just have to find, there's different, off the top of my head, I can't even think of any right are apps that allow you to navigate your world like that.
Yeah.
Yes. But again, if you are having problems with mobility, come talk to me and we can talk about that and what that would look like too. If you need that long cane, don't be afraid of it. I know a lot of people have a lot of fear with the long cane. They think of it being a stereotype that maybe they're not comfortable with, but it really is helpful. If you're stressed about tripping, if you're stressed about not seeing, when you go into a dark restaurant, if you're stressed because you're not sure if the restaurant's going to have stairs or not right away when you go in, that's a good reason to at least know how to use a human guide or a cane if you need to navigate independently. So there's lots of different things we can talk about with mobility. So, all right, I'm looking around. I think I've covered all of my devices that I have up here. Oh, this little gadget right here, I want to show you. If you're having a hard time with threading needles, you don't have to have vision to thread needles. This is a little gadget called an infila, and it helps you thread a needle. You still have to have the use of your fingers, but as long as you have good-ish dexterity, you can still thread a needle with this little gadget. So there's adaptations for just about any type of daily living skill that you have a problem with. So if you have a specific thing that you want to ask me about, even if it's how do I get my toothpaste on my toothbrush without squirting it all over the place, just squirt it in your mouth, right? Just there's little things that we can change and start making a difference. So think about, again, your contrast, your lighting, decreasing glare, improving your size that's appropriate for you, eliminating visual clutter. All of those things are very helpful. So at this time, I guess I can just take any general questions if anybody has any specific things that they want to ask. Yes?
I got,
if any of you cannot find, hello, if any of you have a difficulty finding your keyhole when you get into your apartment because it's dark, I have the solution. My son-in-law found a little device to hang right on top of the keyhole. It's motion, turns on just a little motion, you get a light, like a floodlight on your keyhole. Now, if you're interested, talk to me, and I'll tell you how to get them on Amazon. They're about $10. But it's really neat to be able to see the keyhole when I want to come in.
Yeah, it is.
That motion-centered light.
And that's great. You're using the improvement of lighting, and lighting is wonderful, so that's a great adaptation. However, you also have your fingers. A lot of us forget we have fingers, and we can feel things. So there's nothing wrong with going up to the doorknob, finding the doorknob hole, right, the keyhole, with your left hand if you're right hand dominant, and then slide your key right next to your thumb. All you have to do is feel it, and then it'll go right in. So yes, you can do it visually. Yes, you can do it tactually. There's just lots of different ways that we can do it. Yes?
a lot of our appliances,
Yes, it's on.
a lot of our appliances are black letters, but, white, tiny white
Yeah.
on black.
Yes.
And I have a big label maker. If anybody needs to blow them up, I can provide that to you.
Okay, great. So if you didn't hear him, he was saying that if your appliance has small letters or numbers, he has a label maker that you can use if you want assistance with making those bigger. Again, you can also think about that puff paint, right? That's real easy to do too, and it's amazing how that really does just pop out those numbers if you need that contrast added. Okay? Anything else? Yes?
Show everybody the trick you showed me about currency.
Oh, currency. Okay, so if you're having a hard time, I'm glad you brought that up, Patty, because that was actually one of my things on my list that I wanted to talk about. So if you are carrying on cash, which these days it seems to be an odd commodity anymore, but if you still have cash like I do, and you want to go to some place and pay with cash, there's a couple things that you can do to try to do that independently. The first thing is know what's in your wallet. Don't go to the store and just say, here you go, and I have seen that so many times, it's scary. So please know what's in your wallet before you go. That's one. How do you know what's in your wallet? Well, you have a couple different options. One, use that Seeing AI app, and it has a money currency identifier. You hold it over the currency, and it will say what the denomination is. Another option is if on a bill, you can look at any bill, paper bill, flip it over to the back bottom right-hand corner, it's always larger. So if you're looking at the front of the bill, flip it over and look at the back bottom right-hand corner, okay? It's always gonna be a larger number on that back side. After you've kind of identified it, that helps, but now you need to make sure that when you go to the store, you know your 5 from your 50. And so that way you pay with the right one. So you're gonna fold your bills. General way you can do this is a $1 bill is common, so you don't fold it, okay? If you have a $5 bill, you fold it in half, so it's like a square. Does that make sense? If you have a 10, you're gonna fold it down, so it looks like a hot dog. Okay, and you're gonna put these individually, not a whole bunch of them, individually into your wallet. If you have a 20, you're gonna fold it down like a hot dog and across like a little square, and now you have a little rectangle. And so you make sure that you put your 20, the big number, on the outside so it's what shows. Okay, so if you fold your bills, then put them in your wallet that way, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to identify what they are when you get to the store. On credit cards, a helpful thing is to know which side has the magnetic strip. So using like a bump dot or make a little notch. Take a knife. So you could do this today. Take a notch, and just notch it by scraping a little tiny line into it so you know which side is your magnetic strip side. Maybe do it on the opposite side of the magnetic strip and not the same side. But that way you can feel and you don't have to guess which way to orient that credit card. So that can be helpful as well. If you want to have an actual device to identify your money, if this is something really important to you, the United States government actually hands these out to people. So if you need something like that, come see me and I'll hook you up and we'll figure out how to get you one. Okay? Oh, and about coins, let me say one more thing about coins. If you're struggling with coins, then feel them tactually with your fingernail. If you scrape the edges, you'll identify that there's either ridges or no ridges. So the coins that have no ridges are cheaper. The ones with ridges are more expensive. So the sizes that you get confused often are the penny and the dime. Well, the dime has ridges and the penny does not. And then the other two that you get confused are the nickel and the quarter. And the nickel has no ridges and the quarter has ridges. So that's a way you can identify that, feeling the edges with that. There was a question? Yes.
I'm looking for something that will help me read music. Like trying to hold the music and turn pages and magnify all at the same time. What would you suggest?
That's a great question. So you need like an intermediate pair of glasses. There's also something, and you can go to your eye doctor and ask, say, I need an intermediate, something, it's farther away than up here when you're reading close, and it's too far away for distance reading. So you really need that intermediate pair. So you can start there depending on what your vision is. Another option is to use, they're called max detail glasses. They kind of look kind of outer space-ish in a way. They have like 2 lenses that you wear, but it's an optical device that you wear and you can adjust each side independently and allows you to see that detail of an intermediate distance. So you could also try that. I have those as well. If that was a concern and you wanted me to come to your home, we could work on something like that. But yes, max details are different. Mm-hmm.
Okay, does our insurance cover your visit to the home?
Great question. Does insurance cover the visits? And the answer is no, it doesn't. So how do we pay for these things? So thank you very much for bringing that up because I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about that. So first of all, I want to say that if you have any concerns and you want to be seen by someone like myself who comes out to your home, please I have a packet and you can say, how do I get services from the Psych Center? Okay, we can start there. Once we know what your needs are, then we can kind of figure out what the next step is. We can, one, if you are over the age of 55 and you are legally blind, you have to be legally blind now to use the funds from the state of Ohio's Independent Living Older Blind Grant, okay? So you have to have those qualifications. The state's had some issues with, trying to get lots of people and now they have kind of slimmed down what they're able to provide services for. So again, you have to be over the age of 55 and you have to have legally blind. If you're not in that category though, maybe you just have low vision, maybe you're not quite legally blind yet, please still come and try and get services, because we have grants that we get, and I have a grant right now that I'm working with for people in Columbus, Ohio, and Central Ohio and other counties to try to help those people. So don't just be afraid to think, oh, I'm not going to be able to qualify for the state. Well, maybe we can get you with the grant. So don't be afraid to do that. We also have, you can do private pay too, so we can do that as well. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned those special glasses. Any comments on the prism glasses that move the field of vision?
Sure. So he's talking about prisms, and there's different types of prisms that eye doctors use, and they some prisms are in the glasses, I believe, and others are just like little stickers that you stick on. A lot of times we see prisms when we want to bring the field of view into the good spot. So maybe you've had a stroke, maybe you have a visual field loss on one side. So sometimes eye doctors will suggest prisms to bring the visual field into the good visual field. Does that make sense? And they're kind of strange a little bit because you're seeing like what you see plus what's over here. So it is a little different if you've never tried them before, but that is something you would talk to your eye doctor about. That is not something that I carry, but great question.
Yeah, just as an aside, I wore reversing prisms that turned the world upside down, and within about 6 hours of being sick, you accommodate. So the whole world's upside down, but you learn to walk. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that is interesting. So I think that when you do something with your glasses, anytime you have a new pair, right, you're always a little bit off, right? That's pretty normal. And so same thing with prisms. You're going to have to really work at it. So don't just give up. So yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything else that you can think of that's going on in your home that you're struggling with at all? Don't be afraid. There's no wrong answers or questions. If not, then thank you so much for coming today. I hope this was informative. I hope you found at least one tip that you can take home with you today. If you want to come up and talk to me one-on-one, or if you want to come and look at any of the devices that I have up here, please feel free to do so. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all for coming, and Megan has information on how to get in touch with her and the organization that she works for. So I hope you found something that will help you.